الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. ونصلي ونسلم ونبارك على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. نشهد انه حمل الرساله وادى الامانه ونصح الامه وكشف الله به الغمه، فاللهم اجزه عنا خير ما جزيت به نبيا عن امته ورسولا عن قومه. يا ايها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحده وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والارحام ان الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا ايها الناس اتقوا ربكم ان زلزله الساعه شيء عظيم، يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعه عما ارضعت وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى ولكن عذاب الله شديد. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we witness there is no Lord and no deity worthy of worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We further testify that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had conveyed his message the way it was revealed to him without any changes or any deletion or any modification. ثم أما بعد. Yesterday was a day 13 years ago. This land and this country was faced with the biggest barbaric act that caused the killing of 3,000 people, despite what happened anywhere else. It was unjustified, no reason for it, no purpose for it. Number one suspect in the occasion was Muslims and Islam. And since then, we will reflect back on those days, and then we'll go forward, and then we'll travel back in history for 2.5 years. Since then, Muslim became the main suspect and became a target of everyone who doesn't have any targets. And everyone became a scholar to analyze what Muslims do, what Islam is all about, even Muslims themselves. Some Muslims, they declare to be scholars, or they're bigots. We were to see their faces every morning on TVs and so on, talking about Islam and where Islam stands, and Islam needs to be changed and all this, and Islam needs to be a moderate Islam and so on. And since then until now, until 2 days ago, the President of the United States have given a speech about the situation in the Middle East and so on. But something very interesting that I've seen, one of the young Muslims who they go to ECU, he's not here anymore, he posted something in Facebook that attracted my attention. He said in September 11, there is so many innocent lives been taken, and he feels very sympathetic, and his heart goes deeply to those who they lost loved one. And he said they are not the only victim who they lost one. Also, my name is Muhammad, and I won't say the last name. I also became a victim of that tragic act because I was called terrorist and other names. He put them in Facebook. I will not repeat them again. So, in the last 13 years, the debate still going on until now. Is really Muslim who they are? Is there a problem with Islam or Muslims? And people have very confused vision about Islam and Muslim. They mix things together. Not only that, to make it very hateful ingredient, they mix culture and Muslims and then Islam. Three things. And they didn't know how to differentiate because they didn't come in contact with Muslims, or they never tried to approach Islam to see what Islam is all about. But today, we want to really stop and think, because we live in this country, and most of us, if not all of us, choose for it to be the land where we want to live, and where we prosper, we go to school and have families and so on, right? Okay. What is my responsibility as a Muslim who lives in a non-Muslim country, who they do not know anything about Islam? And the game been going on, what was first? Was it the chicken or the egg? Do we blame people because they didn't know Islam, or because they accuse us of the big words, terrorists and so on, or do we blame our own? I came to know we actually the only one we need to blame, our own self. We want to put it in a business aspect. If you have a product and you want to sell it to someone, not in the business life, large companies, they spend more in marketing to sell the product than what they spend on the product itself. But what happens if you have good product? Do you really need to spend that much money on it to sell it to someone, or the product will sell itself? I have a t-shirt, I paid a good amount of money for it, and I had my son with me, and I told him why this thing is very expensive. He said, Daddy, you pay him for the little guy you have there, the implement in there. That means it's a good product, will fit me right, and the color is nice. So if you have good product, you don't have to market it very hard to sell it. But Islam doesn't need anyone to sell it, because Islam will sell itself. The problem is not with Islam, because the religion Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose the religion for mankind. Not only that, He made Islam the last religion for mankind. And He made Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the last messenger to mankind. The last connection through prophecy was Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No prophets after that, and no books after Quran. 1400 until now, no one ever declared that he received revelation from Allah, except every now and then you have some crazy people who they want to have 5 minutes of fame. But today, I want to take you back to show you who are we, what Muslims are. I will talk today about a character. I guarantee you, the majority of you who sit here today, some of you, they think even they're scholar, or they know a lot. You do not know much about the character that I will talk about today. The character will show you the problem is not with Islam. The problem is with Muslims, because they did not know how to sell their product by being good characters. Whether you are everyday guy or either you're one in a head of a state. I will walk you through someone's life when he was 8, and when he was 21, when he was 25, when he was 30, when he was 35, and when he was 39. I will tell you what he ate, what he drank, what did he do, and who raised him, how he was raised. To show you we have the fiction in our heart and mind to tell people what Islam is all about. It's not anyone else's fault. It's our fault, including myself. And I said last time I will devote my life from now on to promote the history of Islam wherever I go, wherever I have a chance to speak to any gathering. We will talk about someone that Sayyidina Omar ibn al-Khattab, one day, and everyone knows Omar ibn al-Khattab, he said, from my blood, from my family, there is a young man will come and he will have justice shower this earth. Some people said he have a dream. Or maybe the Prophet ﷺ have told them that. One day when Umar ibn al-Khattab was walking around to find out what people doing in their homes, he whispered, and he heard the woman telling her daughter, bring me some water so I can mix it with the milk. So the milk will become bigger quantity, so we can make more money. And the girl told her mother, no. أَلَمْ يَنْهَنَا عَنْ ذَلِكَ أَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Didn't Umar ibn al-Khattab tell us not to do it? Why you want to do it? Look at the character from the bottom up. She said, but Umar ibn al-Khattab is not here. She said, but Allah is here. Umar ibn al-Khattab heard it. This is a very strong message from someone who said it out of the goodness of the heart, because this is their character. So wear your character with your kids today. And Umar, he marked the house, the door, and he left because it was late at night. And he went to his house. In the morning, he woke his kids up and he told them, who would be interested in getting married? One of his boys said, me. His name was Asim ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. I want you to remember the names because we're going to travel through it very quick. And Asim married that girl. And they have a baby girl who they call her, guess what I call her? Layla. Asim. وكنيت بأم عاصم. From Layla. Layla was married by someone. His name was Abdel Aziz ibn Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Abdel Aziz ibn Marwan ibn al-Hakam married Layla. And he was the head of a state in Egypt for 20 years. And then his wife got pregnant. Remember, that goes back all the way to Umar ibn al-Khattab. She had a baby. They called the baby Umar. And Umar was born in Egypt in Hilwan. a town called Hinwan. Most Egyptians even didn't know Omar was born in Hinwan. He was born there. While he was a child, he came one day to his mother and he was crying. She asked him, why are you crying? He said, because I remember this. She cried with him too, a child. When he was playing with a mule, he was kicked in his face. And then he had a scar. And that actually was the prediction of Umar ibn al-Khattab. One day, out of his own blood, someone will have a scar in his face, will fill the earth with justice. Umar became 9, 10 years old. 9 or 10 years old. He asked his father if he can go to Medina. Medina to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And his father sent him there to learn. To learn what? He wanted him to learn Quran, and fiqh, and hadith. He didn't send him to learn anything else. But he wanted to galvanize his boy, his son. Something was written for Omar to be. And then Omar went there. Who was the man who was taking care of him? A man tabi'i. يقال له صالح ibn Kaysan. Salih ibn Kaysan. And Salih was taking care of him. And one day, when he looked back, Omar was in the last row of the prayer. He asked him, why did he come late? Not he didn't pray. He came late, that's why he was in the last row. Friday today, and look how many people we have here. 15 more minutes, we have the place full. And this is Salat al-Jum'ah. So Omar was late. Salih ibn Kaysan, he sent a letter to Amir Misr, his father, Abdel Aziz ibn Marwan. He said Omar was late. When he asked Omar, why were you late? He said, because he had a servant. She was fixing my hair. He was a young man. So he sent his father, he told him, your son was late because the lady who fixed his hair, or the guy who fixed his hair, took away from him his time. So his father sent someone right away to Medina. He told him, go straight there, take Omar from his hand, don't talk to him, shave his head. And that's exactly what he did. That is the beginning of actually charging kids as bury. How you raise kids. This is very important. If you really want to survive and you have a message, it is a great thing to make money in this country. We love it. It's a great country. I love it because I have the American passport, I make money, I prosper, and so on. But as a Muslim, I need to take advantage of being here to tell people what Islam is. I don't have to give them the devil side of me. They need to see me when I'm praying, when I'm fasting, not in bad positions. Do all you want, but at least remember, what are you doing? You are the deputy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You carry the message of Islam everywhere you go. The way you drive. I hate to see you in a courthouse because you were arrested drugged or drunk. I hate to see you cussing someone out in the store because they were mean to you. I hate to see you spilling water all over the bathroom in public places because you want to wash to pray. And hell with everybody else. This is not the character of Muslims. We need to learn today from this guy. He was brilliant. Anyways, when he was 19, 20 years old, his father died. And then his uncle was taking care of him. Marwan ibn al-Hakam. He was taking care of him. Abdel ibn Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Sorry. Abdel ibn Marwan ibn al-Hakam was taking care of him. And then they seen his character, how good he is. He loved them. And the next thing, Omar ended up marrying his cousin, Fatima. That is her name. And after he married her, her father passed away. The one who took charge after that was Walid ibn Abdel ibn Marwan. But then the very first thing he did, he hired Omar ibn Abdul Aziz to be the Emir of Medina. And Omar was very fair, very kind to everyone. He had it made. When people seen that, then his cousin decided to let him to take control over Mecca, Al-Taif, Al-Hijaz. But after that, there was a guy in Iraq who was very well known to everyone, Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Saqafi. He was a tyrant. And then he was leading the Hajj, coming to Hajj. But then Umar ibn Abdul Aziz sent his cousin and told him, listen, this guy is coming to Hajj. I don't want him to come to Medina to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He's a dictator. He oppressed everyone.
And then Al-Khalifa sent Al-Hajjaj, he told him, when you go to Hajj, don't go to Medina. There is some people there who they don't like you. So Al-Hajjaj didn't like it. He went and he caused some trouble, and Omar was fired from his post. Later on, his cousin died, and the next one who took over was Sulaiman ibn Abdel Malik. Very quick. And Sulaiman took over, and he loved Omar ibn Abdul Aziz and had him close to him. And then one day Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik was walking around, and he have seen the superpower of the Muslim nation. And he looked at Omar and he said, look at all these people. And Omar looked at him and he said, this is life. You're talking about life. What have you done for them? And then Sulaiman, he kind of thought about it. And he knew he valued Omar then. And the next thing, he went to Hajj with Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik. When he went to Hajj with him, Sulaiman sent so many thousands of people, and he told Omar, look at all these people. Look how great the number is. And Omar ibn Abdul Aziz, who told him, I want you to remember this. That's someone you're responsible for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you responsible in the day of judgment. And he will ask you about every single one of them, and the Prophet will be standing there. And Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik cried. Because he remembered one day he will stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fly through this. The next thing, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, he got really sick. To give to Omar ibn Abdul Aziz now. He got really sick. And then he wanted to hire someone, to appoint someone to take over after he died. Then he asked one of the closest one to him, Raja ibn Haywa. That's his name. You don't have to give all his names. Raja ibn Haywa. He asked him, who do you think I should hire to take over after me? Should I hire my son? He said, no. Whoever you hire after you, or appoint after you, you will be fully and totally responsible for every action that they do before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, what do you think? He said, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. I'm flying through it. So he told him, bring me a piece of paper and a pen, and he wrote down, إِنِّي وَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ عُمَرْ ibn Abdul Aziz. I am commissioned Umar ibn Abdul Aziz to be Khalifatul Muslimeen min ba'di. And Sulaiman said, I will hire or appoint Umar ibn Abdul Aziz to take over after my death. And he said at the time, he said, لَأَكْتُبَنَّ كِتَابًا لَا يَنْفُذُ مِنْهُ الشَّيْطَانِ وَلَا يَجِدْ فِيهِ مَكَانٍ. He said, I will write a book to give the position or khilafah to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. No one can dispute it after I die. Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, he died. And next thing, Raja ibn Haywa have the book was sealed with Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik sealed. And then when Sulaiman died and he was buried, everyone came to the mosque. You know where this mosque is? It's almost destroyed, I think. Al-Masjid al-Amawi, fi Dimashq. That's where the mosque was. And then he stood up in the member. He said, Ya ayyuhan nas, this is the time we're going to open the book of Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, so you can find out who he appointed to take over. They opened the book, and they read the book. Inni wallaytu alaykum Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Before that, they actually came, and he told them that I want everyone to pledge allegiance that you actually vote in this person in that envelope. And they said yes. When Umar ibn Abdul Aziz found out he was the one in there, he started crying and weeping, and he didn't want it. So he stood up after he finished. He stood up in the member. He told people, listen, anyone who voted for this envelope, for the name in the envelope, without knowing who was in there, I am telling you now, you're free to take your votes back. I don't wish to have it. And when people insist for him to be, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz stood in the member again and he said, Inni wallitu alaykum. I've been commissioned without your choice and without my choice. But since you choose me, I accept the responsibility. What a great calamity that I have to take an oath for. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله. So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz stood up and everyone knew. The very first thing that he did in the mosque, very first thing, this man, you can never have enough of him. We don't need hours and days to talk about him. There is a lot. I'm going to drop a lot of stuff out. But when he stood up, the very first thing he did, he said, anyone, the very first thing, anyone who have a complaint, lost his property to the royal family, his money, his property, his home, his land, anything, you need to come now and you'll get it back. First thing he gave the royal family the choice to give what they took back, to give it back to people. When they did it, he called people to come in, so everyone was asking for what was taken away from them. One of them was non-Muslim. He came to him and he said, Ya Omar, the processor, the one before you, Khalifa, his son Al-Abbas, he took my land. And he brought him in, he said, Al-Abbas, did you take the man's land? The man was not Muslim. Just remember the non-Muslim part. So Al-Abbas said, no, I did not. And then Omar told the guy, listen, do you have any evidence, any documentation? The guy said, yes. He took the land from one of the permanent member of the royal family and gave it back to a non-Muslim. That's number one. Just remember that. The second thing, when he did that, he got tired of giving people their stuff back and so on. So he went home to take a siesta, take a nap. When he went home to sleep, his son told him, Daddy, what are you trying to do, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? He said, I'm trying to take a nap. He said, what do you mean trying to take a nap? His son was named Abdel Malik, and he was 18 years old of age. His name was Abdel Malik. And he said, Daddy, you need to go back and give people what they've been trying to get for years. He said, well, I need to sleep. He said, can you guarantee that you get up again to give people what they deserve? He got up and he went back and he started giving things away. The very first one he appointed someone, his job, he told him, was a scholar known that he doesn't want anything. He told him, if you ever see me doing anything wrong, take me from my throat and tell me, ittaqillaha ya Omar. He put someone to oversee what he's doing. And he appointed 7 people. He told them, you are my helper, but you are independent. Anything you see me doing wrong, or anyone who comes to you with complaint, you need to bring it to me. That is your responsibility. There is so many names of them. I know them, but I will name one of them. One of them was Abdullah ibn Umar. Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik, he said, he prayed behind so many people. The only one he prayed behind that reminded him of the Prophet ﷺ was Umar ibn Aziz. That's how much similarity he had with the Prophet ﷺ. As soon as he was hired, he heard a lot of noise in the street, in the blocks. He asked about it. They said, this is your entourage. You know how you have limousine and Rolls Royces and Secret Service and motorcycles and all that? He said, no. Everything needs to go back to Bayt al-Muslimin. All I need my mule. A little horse, a horse between a creature, between a horse and a donkey, a mule. That's the very first thing he did. And they said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you used to be Omar ibn Abdel Aziz, but now you're Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now we need to live in the castle. He said, no. I need to live in the house where I've been living. Small house. He lived in there. Every single day, someone came into his wife, Fatima, and he was complaining to her. He said, Taqillaha ya Fatima, Taqillaha fil khadam. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm your servant. Every single day, you feed me lentil. You know what lentil is? Food you eat. Beans. And she said, Ya akhi, yani taqillah. This is ta'am wa Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is what Amir al-Mu'mineen eat every single day. He didn't know. A woman came from Iraq to visit with Fatima. And she seen someone stirring up Fatima, the guy who brings water from the well outside. He was stirring up Fatima. She said, Ya Fatima, why is this guy staring at you? I don't like the way he's looking at you. She said, this is Amir al-Mu'mineen, bringing his own water there. Omar ibn Abdel Aziz, he surrounded himself by the right people, not by the powerful, or the one who they butt kisser, if I can say that word, or one they only ask for their interest, one the only thing they want their self-interest. He surrounded himself with people who they wish nothing but to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day he was sitting, having a nice get together with his friends. And then the light went out. And then the servant was asleep. So his friend told him, I will get up and fix it. He said, no, I'll fix it. And Omar went there and he fixed it. And he came back and smiled. And the guy said, what are you smiling at? He said, قمت وأنا عمر بن عبد العزيز ورجعت وأنا عمر بن عبد العزيز. He said, I stood up to fix it when I was Umar and I came back Umar. بئس الرجل من يستخدم صديقه. What a bad man, the man who used his friends to fix things in his own house. That's Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. You know how big the Muslim countries are? 25%. This is something you don't know. 25% of the earth was belonged to Muslims. If you look at the map, from China in the east, Spain and Portugal in the very far west, and then to the doors of France and Paris, all the way down south to the Indian Ocean. Omar ibn Abdul Aziz, he came back home and he asked his wife if she had a dirham, if she had 5 cents or 10 cents. She looked around, she couldn't find anything. She said, what did he need it for? He said, ذهبت إلى الأسواق واشتهت نفس العنب. I was in the market and I like grapes. I want to eat some grapes. But she said, I don't have anything. And he said, better not to have it now, haram, than not having it at all in the day of judgment. That's Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Now they want to spend so much money in their own cars, in their own vacation, in their own homes and generations to come. That's how he was. One of the things they actually invaded the town called Samarkand. And the leader was named Qutayba. When they went in there to this little village or little town, they were non-Muslim. They complained to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, they said they invaded us. This story in page 411. The book was published in 1932 by Sheikh Tantawi, if you want to check it out, if you want to Google it. It's authentic information. But anyways, when they went to the town, they took over the town, people didn't like it because they didn't warn them that they're coming. When they went there, they take things against their will. They didn't give them the 3 options. Either you become a Muslim, or you can keep your religion and pay taxes, or you can move somewhere else. They didn't give them the option. And Omar sent to one of his judges, he told him, I want you to judge in this case. He judged in the case. And he called the guy who actually conquered the town. The guy came out, he said, did you do such and such and such? He said, yes, I took it. I didn't give them any warning or anything. He said, you need to pull all the Muslims out of it. And when people see that, they actually embraced Islam. They said, how can you find people like that? That is the manner of Muslims. Someone from the bottom up going to teach us. But we fail to read our history. We fail to understand what is Islam all about. There is nothing wrong with Islam. And there is nothing wrong with misunderstanding from non-Muslims, because we do not tell them these things. We didn't tell our own kids these stories. My father told me that. My grandfather told me other stories. That's what I live with. That's why I'm fascinated with stories, because I know this is the closest thing you can get to people, get to their heart and mind and get them connected. And I've seen every one of you having his head up. Like, it's very interesting. This is not something to entertain you. This is something to remind each other. We are great, but we're weak. 25% of earth would belong to Muslims. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz stopped conquering any more countries because he wanted to focus on the ones he had. When they collected zakah money, they couldn't find anyone to give it to. He told Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, every time they give money to the treasurer, he would go and give it away right away. And then he would sweep the floor and he prayed 2 rak'ah in Bayt Mal al-Muslimin, in the storage facilities. When they told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we have money, we don't know what to do with it. We have no poor people anymore. He said, anyone who owe money, let me put it to you in today's time, anyone who owe money to credit card, to a debitor, go ahead and pay it off. They didn't have credit card, but we just hypothetically saying that. Anyone who owe money, give it. Pay his debts. They said, okay, everyone was paid. He said, anyone who wanted to get married, go ahead and do it. They did. They still have money. He said, anyone is handicapped, he cannot help himself or herself, hire him a servant to serve him, pay it for from Bayt Mal al-Muslimin. They did. He said, anyone who's a slave and anyone who wanted to be liberated from slavery, go ahead and pay for it. They did. Still have money. Anyone who wanted to go to Hajj, Give him money. Anyone who's non-Muslim in a time of need, give them money. This is something you need to focus on. Remember, was non-Muslim village, was non-Muslim guy, his land was taken away. When the non-Muslim came to him and they told him, when your great-grandparents conquered this land, they took our land and they built a mosque on it. We need our land back. And Omar asked everyone, they said, no, we cannot bring the mosque back down. He said, no, you have to bring it down. Finally, they gave him another piece of land in exchange. This is what Islam is all about. It's not about bragging, we are the greatest nation. Yes, we are. But what did we do? We didn't even know our own history. We didn't really know who we are. And instead of going around it. He have done a lot. You know how long he stayed there? 2 years and 5 months and 5 days. That's all he did. He was just. If justice was all over. When they spend all the money in every way, they still have money. لو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض. If those people who they live in these villages and towns, they actually righteous, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open doors from everywhere. Doors of blessing. He said, buy seeds and throw it on the mountains so no one will see a bird got hungry in our land. This is what Muslim all about. Where are we at now? Very quick. $1.8 trillion was spent in buying military equipment. That's the Stockholm Institution, you can look at it. $1.8 trillion was spent to buy equipment, to buy military. One of the biggest buyers in the Middle East, I will name no countries. I won't offend anyone. 2012, they spent $56 billion. Since 1973, the Arab and Muslim have never fired one shot against an enemy. Not even one single shot, except the things here and there. But not a single war was declared by Muslims. Mainly groups, not groups. Now, remember Omar ibn Abdel had money he didn't know what to do with it? The Arab countries alone, they spend $75 billion. 55% of their money that they spend it to import their own food, import food to eat, basic food. And he didn't have anyone, he was throwing seeds away. We spent so much money, we couldn't find food. We have more resources than Omar ibn Abdel Aziz had. We are the poorest. We have more people than Omar ibn Abdel Aziz had. We are the weakest. We have more scholars than Omar ibn Abdel Aziz have, but we are the most ignorant. This is where we are as Muslims after September 11. We didn't get anywhere. We're still in the same place. We don't have identity. We don't know who we are. We failed to tell people who we are. We didn't. Because we did not know who we are. To close here and take a quick, Omar ibn Abdel Aziz got sick, really sick. There is so many stories to tell about him. A great guy. And I advise everyone to go and Google it and read it just for your own self and your own, your own knowledge who you are. When he died, he didn't have any money in his house. You know how much money he have? 17 dinar. He have 11 kids. 17 dinar. They used 4 of them to buy him a garment. And his brother-in-law told Fatima, his wife, go ahead and change his clothes. A lot of people coming to see him while he's sick, he's dying. She said, Wallahi, he only have one garment. Only one garment. How many do we have? But we're still poor. We still worry too much about making money. Every morning I get up in the morning and I have 50 t-shirts, which one I want to wear today. Color and style and money and all that. They only have left after they bought his grave and something to bury him in. Guess what? They have 7 dinar. 7 dinar mean anyone will take about under 75 pills, which is nothing for his kids. And they came to him when he was dying. They said, you need to leave your kids something. He said, تَرَكْتُ لَهُمْ تَقْوَى اللَّهِ. I have left to them the righteousness and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to give them more than, I don't want to give them money, they will fight each other. I lift him taqwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنما يتولى الله الصالحين. And Umar ibn Abdel Aziz died at the age of 39, at year 101 Hijriya. Rahmahullah. And his wife came in, and then he told her to get out because I see things. They are not jinn and they are not human. He was seeing angels. And then he said, Marhaban bihazih al-wujuh. Welcome to these faces. And he starts reciting an ayah when everyone left the room. تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. This life, we only have it for those who they seek the righteousness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he died, the whole earth shook. And one of the people who talked about him was Louis III, a Roman emperor. He said, a great just ruler passed away. Justice has died. And then he cried. And he said, Wallahi, if I know that anyone will bring the death to life, like what Sayyidina Isa did, would have been Omar ibn Abdel Aziz. This is just one sentence from Omar ibn Abdel Aziz's life. We will continue, inshallah, other time in other figures to know who we are. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم كن لنا ولا تكن علينا. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في كل بقاع الأرض يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من أن نشرك بك شيئا نعلمه ونستغفرك لما لا نعلمه. اللهم كن لنا ولا تكن علينا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا. اللهم إنا نسألك الصدق في القول. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. واقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.